Hey guys, welcome to the review of Antman from Marvel. Oh god damn it, it's not Antman. Yeah, I don't know Ant-Man's theme song. You know what? That was one thing I'll say right away. Not memorable music. I don't remember the theme song for Ant-Man. But that's fine. You didn't need it because where Ant-Man makes up for in no superhero theme, it makes up for in comedy. This is one of the funniest Marvel films out there. I think I'd say it's next. For me, I enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy a little bit more, but this one has that kind of crazy comedy. Marvel is so good with taking their crazy ideas, their properties like Ant-Man.
And I didn't know how that was going to do. I was like, Ant-Man, why would I want to go see that?
Yeah.
But it was actually good.
Pretty good, right? Yeah, so that's what Marvel's best at, is taking their ideas and just saying, you know what? This is a crazy fucking idea. We're going to go with it. And
right now, we can't do no wrong.
Yeah, they are doing really well. So, basically, the story, I was a little disappointed that but the movie made up for it is that it's not Hank Pym. Because, you know, I've read the comics, I'm familiar with Avengers, and I was hoping it was Hank Pym. Well, actually, that's not true. It's Michael McDouglas, or Michael Douglas's character is Hank Pym. So he's the older, and he's on the way out. In fact, at one point he says, you know, I can't don the suit no more. It's taking a toll on me, whether that means
he didn't really say anything.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what kind of side effects?
Yeah, I wanted to know what were those side effects.
If I was Scott, I'd be like what?
Like what?
I'm putting on the suit now. Let me know what's gonna happen to me.
Yeah. So basically, the story to this one, and no spoilers here. We'll wait for the spoiler section later. Is that you know, Hank Pym, the older one, creates this formula, this particle that allows the subatomic shrinking ability, and it's too dangerous. He leaves S.H.I.E.L.D. He leaves this group of highly intelligent scientists, including Tony Stark's father. And there was also a military dude on there that really wanted it, and you know, he punches the guy. And anyway, so he leaves this because it's way too dangerous. Well, it turns out that in leaving, he becomes his own hero, and you get to see it in a small little propaganda flashback film where little Ant-Man is in World War II, just punching Nazis.
Oh wait, no, it wasn't World War II. It was
Cuban Missile Crisis.
It was like the Cold War fights.
The Cold War fights. Okay, yeah, but it was hilarious, and then it was the scene with the machine gun where he's firing off a machine gun somehow. I don't know how he's pressing.
It didn't matter. It showed a little guy on the handle. He's got ant powers.
Oh, he's on the handle.
An ant was pushing the trigger.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway, so the older Hank Pym was in service, and he was doing his thing in secret. So eventually, you know, he left his company. He creates his company and has a protege named Darren Cross. And this ends up being our main villain because Hank Pym realizes that this guy is a little off kilter, maybe, you know, not the person that he thought he was, and decides to kind of back away from him. And
he said, what was it? It's like, you were too much like me.
So he sort of backs away from him, and so Darren Cross takes over the company. And over years and years of research, poring over, having this obsession of trying to recreate Hank Pym's particle, he is able to do it, though with many side effects. And there's some nasty ass shit in this movie when people get hit with the shrink ray and turn into just like a glob of gloopity gloop. And I was like, damn, man, that's a bad way to go, son.
It's instant. You wouldn't know.
So he manages to figure out how to do it, okay? And he creates the Yellow Jacket suit, and that sets up the plot where Hank Pym says, oh shit, I can't let this happen because Darren Cross wants to sell this stuff to the military, and they have this big little military video showing what the Yellow Jackets could do in real life. That video is awesome, and I was like, fuck, man, any army would have problems with that because you can't shoot these fucking tiny little Yellow Jackets
with beam cannons.
Exactly, they have lasers and shit. So Hank Pym recruits this movie Scott Lang, right, who is a career criminal. He is a robberist, or what was it?
Burglar.
A burglarer.
He's a burglar.
No, that's right. He doesn't do robberies because robberies involve violence, and so he's no violence. He's a burglar. He burglars people. And so, Hank Pym is impressed with his skills because he's able to break into his own house, though he said that he allowed him to break into his house and steal the Ant-Man suit. And this leads to a great many hijinks as Scott Lang discovers the suit, and Hank Pym is like, okay, I think I found my next Ant-Man. Let's do this thing. Let's stop the Yellow Jackets from happening. That's the movie. So, tell me, guys, what you thought of Paul Rudd as Scott Lang.
I thought he was great.
Yeah?
I honestly thought he was great. I thought he did the comedian role really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting at him, I'm like, that guy, if Ryan Reynolds wasn't going to be Deadpool, I said he could have pulled that off. And I thought that, and I was like, holy crap, this guy's pulling off Ant-Man really well. And so
Wait, what did you say about Ryan Reynolds?
I said if Ryan Reynolds wasn't doing Deadpool, this actor could be a Deadpool. I thought he would be a good character for him.
For Deadpool? I don't know.
I think he could. Yeah, I
He's
thought he
very
was casted.
sarcastic.
I see
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah, he could. He was casted really well. He was a good character. He was really good smartass. He was
Yeah.
really good at being a smartass, and that was like perfect for the role because I never had a point where I was like, I don't like this guy.
Did you buy his motivations where he was like, I'll do this, I'll become the Ant-Man for my daughter, I got to get my life in order? Did all that work for you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was a good tie into the story because he handled it well, and I like the fact that you felt like he had a motivation to actually go out and do all this shit. Partially why he probably didn't care whatever the side effects were. He was just like, I'm doing this for my kid. I don't give a shit what happens to me. Because the argument of the whole movie was, we're not doing it to save our generation. We're doing it to save their future.
Yeah, and he was like, damn, that's a great speech.
It's like, dude,
I
you
love
got
that
me.
because Michael McDouglas tries to convince him, please don't leave, let's do this thing, and he gives a great speech, and he just breaks the fourth wall pretty much. Doesn't look at the camera, but he was like, that was a great speech. So yeah, no, Paul Rudd does great as Ant-Man. I kind of expected to not really buy him. I don't know why, but he does great. He
does
bulked
great.
up for the role. Dude's got like really fucking ripped abs and shit. I was like, damn, man, I need to get the fucking workout trainer that all these Marvel heroes have. I want the Marvel workout trainer. Anyways, so basically, they recruit him to go out and try to stop David Cross. They have a wild card in Michael McDougall, I shouldn't say that, Hank Pym's daughter. How did you feel about her character, Joe, Hank Pym's daughter?
Great. I really liked it. What was her name?
I don't know her name. I'd have to look it up, but just Hank Pym's daughter.
As soon as I saw her, I was
She's a
like,
new
Lord
character.
Of the Rings. What was it, The Hobbit?
Lord of the Rings? Was it
Man.
The Hobbit? She was
Yeah,
the
she
Hobbit
was
girl? Okay, well, see, she wasn't in the
she was
comics.
She was one of the elves.
She's a new character, and I think she did a good job. They did that montage where she is sort of the martial artist, and at one point she is teaching Scott Lang all the fight moves and stuff.
Yeah, I liked her character. I believed her when she's like, "Why isn't it me? Like this should be my job. I'm part of the family. Let me do something to help."
Mm-hmm. And Hank Pym decides, it's like, no, that's, he wants to protect his family because Hank Pym, something really bad happened to him, which is spoilers, and we're not going to tell you until the spoiler section, where, he lost a loved one. So he doesn't want that to happen again with his daughter. And you know what? That's not that great. That's not that huge of a spoiler that Joe's basically saying that Hank Pym's daughter eventually decides that her father is in the right and this Darren Cross guy is a crazy man, and so they got to stop it. So you felt that the daughter character was excellent. So you got these two main character roles that were driving the movie forward. Douglas did a great job as sort of an older mentor. So as far as the whole premise of the movie where Ant-Man can control ants, that was my favorite part.
Oh, yeah.
Reminded me a lot of, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where whenever he goes to that the very small, tiny, shrunken state, everything is huge. So it's like a completely different world. You've got faucet water turns into a huge waterfall, and even carpet turns into a fucking jungle. He's constantly as he's training, he needs to learn how to work with the different types of ants. He works with bullet ants, carpenter ants, and crazy ants, which I've never heard of, but apparently are a thing that can conduct electricity.
Yeah,
I don't know if they made that
and
shit
fire
up.
ants. And fire ants.
No, I did not see fire
No,
ants.
they were
the
wrapped in
film.
the when they were floating.
Uh-huh.
That was fire ants. They
No,
clumped
that was
together.
the crazy ants, I thought.
No, crazy ants were the little orange ones.
Okay. Okay. Well,
fire
maybe
ants
there
are
were
red.
fire
Yeah,
ants
they
in
were
there.
fire
So
ants.
I loved the whole ant angle, and in fact, they tried to create an ant character for us, Ant 237 or 238. I can't remember which one. Who eventually becomes Anthony. I was like Anthony. So the trailer shots where you see him riding an ant.
Yeah.
That is Anthony, his best friend, and we'll talk more about that in the spoiler section. And so yeah, I thought the whole premise was really cool, and what major audiences don't really see a lot of this kind of stuff. There was so much laughter. There was so much, that kind of, what? This is a ridiculous premise, because the movie had this great tendency to do these, fucking epic music and just, and then all of a sudden it would cut away and there would be no music, no special effects, and it would be like, or a little train would get tossed across the room, or at one point you saw this in the trailer, Wasp gets hit with the Thomas the Train set, and it's just and everybody in the theater was laughing.
Yeah, they were laughing a lot.
Yeah, they were laughing a lot. Me a little less. Some of the jokes didn't really hit in that sense. I enjoyed it. I had a big smile on my face, but I wasn't like, oh, I've never seen that, kind of thing. Because we're comic book fans, so I've read stories like that all the fucking time. But I enjoyed it because I saw the general audience is like, they'd never seen stuff like this before, and they loved it. So that's probably why it has such a high audience rating. I think at the time it was like 94% or something.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the villain. This is where I felt the movie had its weak point.
Yeah.
To me, the Darren Cross character as Yellow Jacket just was not an
didn't
interesting.
really like
It had the same sort of problem that Guardians of the Galaxy had, where you couldn't really get behind the villain. You're not supposed to get behind the
No,
villain,
you're not.
but at the same time, you have to feel that there's a threat there.
Yeah.
I don't know. He just didn't have much depth to him. What did you think?
He was just a generic run-of-the-mill psychopath that wanted money.
Yeah, basically.
He was literally just like every other crazy billionaire that wants to have power.
Yeah.
There was like no unique, interesting part of him, and they
tried.
They tried to explain away. Oh, he's crazy because of the process, and it's like, what?
But he never shrunk.
He never shrunk himself. So.
Well, I guess at that point, he had never shrunk himself, so I don't understand the points that they made in the movie that the brainwaves are affecting you, but wait a minute, he never shrunk himself. They were trying to figure out how to use it on humans the whole film. Then he figures out towards the end using it on a little sheep, but he never really did it to himself until he went crazy, and he was already crazy. Then he went into Yellow Jacket, but his brainwaves were never affected to me at that point, so I was a little bit confused on that.
Yeah, I just think he's just so frustrated. He's like, this guy has the answer to my problem, but he won't fucking give it to me. He's like, I hate this guy.
Okay, so that was...
and over and over. He's like, all right, it's not working. It's not working. He does like 50 experiments and it's not working. And by that time, he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I hate this guy.
Joe,
guy's
you're
my
actually
nemesis.
convincing me that
He's
that
like,
little
this is
angle
my
is
nemesis.
interesting in the fact
He's like,
that...
just give it to me. And
What's
he's like,
wrong with him?
He's like,
And he's
"Oh,
like,
I
no,
don't-"
it's dangerous. No, it's not dangerous. I am smart. I am intelligent.
Yeah,
I'll make
basically.
it. Yeah, so
He's like, we
okay.
have a shipment of like billions to go. You ready? It's like, almost there. I just need one little thing, but he won't give it to me.
Yeah, so that's why what kind of sort of...
Thing, but he won't give it to me.
Yeah, sense. But I almost forgot this. I want to talk about the supporting cast. So this is another reason why Antman really excels and was a fantastic movie, is the supporting cast around Scott Lang, his buddies that are there to greet him when he comes out of jail. Michael Piena's character, the Hispanic guy, it's like, yes!
He's a great
He is
role.
so funny. He
I love
reminds
it.
me of a cross between Smiley and just your stereotypical sort of vato Mexican guy. Yeah, he's a stereotype, but god damn it, he's so
He's
funny
so
and,
good,
and
yeah.
lovable too. And he's trying to do the right thing, and he's just a funny guy. Joe, tell me about this character and the supporting cast. Did you like them?
I really like the supporting cast. I like T.I. He was.
Oh, the
I
rapper,
still
yep.
believe him as a badass. He's just a thug, whatnot, but he's still pretty cool.
He was the wheel man.
He was a wheelman, and the other one, what was it? Electronics, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
The Russian.
What was
the
his
Russian.
name?
I don't
Do you remember
remember
his
his
name?
name.
Is he Russian?
Was
Yeah.
it? I don't know what he was.
Everybody
He
was
barely
laughing
spoke.
so much every time that guy talked. I'm like, that's just a
He had his
Russian
one-liner,
accent.
yeah,
Come
he
on,
just said
guys.
a
Why are you
couple
laughing
one-liners,
at
but
that?
it's still pretty funny though.
I don't know about that guy, but yeah, but Michael Piano was so funny.
Obviously the best one.
Yes, he was. So supporting cast is so awesome in this film. It is probably a reason to go see the film. In addition, what's up?
Like the very beginning, I don't think this is a spoiler, where he's in the car and you get introduced to the character, and he's like, so, you know, how's your girlfriend? Oh, she left me. And my mom died.
Right.
And my dad got deported.
Yeah.
But I got the van. And he's like, yeah, you
But I got
did.
the van. That's pretty
The
sweet,
van,
right?
yeah.
Hey, it's one of those guys, the people that are always find positives in life, and you can't help but love the guy. And I was so happy to see later on in the film, they kind of get forgotten, but they bring him in to the fold on the good guy side, and bring him into the plan on stopping Darren's Cross's evil plans. So that works out in a very hilarious way. And so the subplots were good, the supporting cast was good, the main cast was good, Scott Lang and Hank Pym's daughter. And ultimately, although I really wanted to see the original Ant-Man and the original Wasp, who, by the way, Wasp is in the film in some capacity. We're not going to tell you where it is, but if you're a huge fan of the Wasp, you will not be disappointed. Watch the movie to see how exactly the Wasp figures in multiple areas of the movie. So, but that's what I was disappointed. I was like, damn, man, I want the original Hank, and I want Wasp, and I want them to be fighting and stuff. And it turns out that that's just the older generation, and this is all about the newer generation, which fits in with the themes of the movie perfectly. So we really enjoyed Ant-Man, and I can already see they set up a sequel real nicely, which we'll talk about in the spoiler section. And so let's go and give our final ratings on the film. But before we do that, let's talk about some of the weaknesses of the film. I guess I've been blunted a little bit because I saw everybody around me enjoying this movie at an insane level, and I was like, yeah, it's good. It's a good film. But I guess I just seen all of these things before. I've seen the shrunken thing in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I've seen them in the comics before. So a lot of the scenes where he does his shrinking stuff didn't really impact me quite as well. I did like the idea of this whole subatomic universe. That was super interesting, and as I was in the theater, I had this like moment of, wow, what would happen if I actually hit the subatomic thing and took off the restrictor and just constantly shrinking for the rest of my life into oblivion, into a different dimension. And I got lost, and I forgot the movie was playing for like 10 minutes because I was like, that's some fucked up shit. So I liked that the fact the movie made me think in that way. But a weakness of the film, I would have to say, is I didn't really understand why he picked Scott Lang. It seemed like he was following around Scott Lang for a long time because Scott had stolen stuff from a billionaire. And so it makes sense that he needed a really good robber. And at certain points in the movie, he did show off his robber skills. You know, Jackie Chan up a building
He was like
and
supposed
stealing.
to be,
but he never really used his break-in skills because he had his ants to do it for him. There were ants that could shock electronics. There were ants that would plant explosives, and the explosives would get, would unshrink, and they'd be C4. And as ants pretty much did everything. So as long as he learned how to be able to control the ants with his mind, and so as long as he learned to be able to, how to fight, then he was Ant-Man. He didn't really use his robber skills. And you know who taught it to him? Hank Pym's daughter.
You know, I think the logic behind it was if he when he stole that money from a billionaire, he gave it back to all the people they had stole it from. So he had the right good heart, moral conscience. And then the other thing was that he really had motivation to do something this crazy. Because he knew that his daughter, he wanted to win his daughter back, and so he knew that that's better motivation than greed or power or any of that other stuff. He had true motivations, like true want to help his kid. And he could tell he could mold this guy.
He had a good moral compass.
Because he had a good moral compass, and all he needed was the fight skills and the ability to control the ants.
Plus he was agile as hell already. So he knew how to do all the flips.
Well, then also that building or the company he worked for, that security was supposed to be like impenetrable.
Oh, right.
And then they had to go to this facility that I guess we'll talk about later. Because it's
No,
pretty guarded. It's heavily guarded,
yeah.
and he just went in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
we could talk about it very lightly before we move on to our final ratings. The Avengers are tied into this film, and it turns out to be one of the best fight scenes, and that's worth the price of admission. Where Ant-Man first meets an Avenger. Not going to tell you who. You can wait for the spoiler section, but it was so funny. So, okay, you guys are right. I really haven't found a whole lot of flaws other than it's stuff that I've seen before, and I was hoping for a little bit more action, but Ant-Man isn't really a bruiser. He's more a let's get my army to go, and let's do these things, and let's do break-ins and espionage and fucking with electronics. So, final ratings. Let's go Del.
What?
Joe.
Joe. There's Joe. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna give this an 8.
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Excellent. What about Del?
Well, I liked it about as much as Guardians of the Galaxy, a little less, like you. I gave that a 9, so I gotta give this an 8. It's an 8 out of 10. It's a solid 8.
I expected these two guys to be an 8. We took one more guy with us, Angel, who's been on a few live streams playing board games with us, lives across the street. Angel loved it, and as he was walking away, he was like, "It's totally a 9 out of 10," you know. And so I was teetering between 9 out of 10 and 8, and I think that I'm also going to go with an 8. There is a ton of comedy. And I love these sort of crazy ideas that Marvel has, and they know it, so they're like, fuck it, let's just make this a funny film, a film that people can laugh to and have fun at, instead of like, oh, we must make it like you can relate to it. No, they say, it's ridiculous. Can we change the name? By the way, that line from the trailer was never in the movie. By the way, is it too late to change the name?
It was never in the movie.
Never in the movie. Anyway, so I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10 as well. It's a solid 8.
And I gotta say for sure, Marvel has this like totally great capacity to get their casting and their screenplay writers and all this stuff like perfect.
Yeah, who wrote
the
this?
people that wrote this was Edgar Wright and Joe Cornish,
I'm
who
not
also worked on the Shaun of the Dead movie, and they were the two people that wrote the screenplay for Hot Fuzz.
Oh,
so you got those guys.
That's why
They
their
knew
shit was
this
funny.
funny.
That's why there's sarcasm and some good comedy in there. Okay, now I understand. Still 8 out of 10 for me, but the ground is laid. I was thinking I was going in this, I was like, you know what? Ant-Man film's going to be a one-off. I'm going to enjoy it, and then I'll see his presence in the Avengers, and it'll be all right. But no, I want an Ant-Man too.
I do.
Especially
really do.
with the way they set it up, and females are going to love possibly the sequel to Ant-Man 2, and not just females, but even me too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's a new character introduced towards the end. So anyways, all right, spoiler section coming up. Thanks guys so much for coming out. Please leave your comments about Ant-Man and what you think its final rating should be in the comments, okay? We'll see you guys on the next Angry Joe Show.